Hey, I'm really excited to talk about this Naxx raid today. It happened on Classic Era 1 week ago. The second round of this raid is happening today, but let's watch the inaugural run. To give some context, we're watching Fresh Daily. I'm the guild master of Fresh Daily, but this is not my raid. The raid leader for this run is Frosty. This is our new alt raid. So I do want to give that context at the beginning that you're watching here on lesser geared characters, people playing new roles. It's just not the 100% that you'd maybe hope to see from an Naxx. And that's the cool thing about these guys still being able to kill bosses. This is why I am so passionate about Naxx, where it's all about getting to that base level of, are you a Naxx light raid? Are you a raid that can full clear? Are you a raid that can full clear in 1 day? There's kind of those different levels of progression. And this raid had it really tough of a 2-hour time limit. I don't do that in my own raids. In my own raids, we say 2.5 hours for Naxx because sometimes things go wrong. And speaking of things going wrong, main tank dies on the first pull. And I wouldn't say it's Herb's fault. He just pops his sapper as is expected. He doesn't have salvation on because he's a tank. I think he takes it off at least. It looks like he has it on. No, he takes it off. Yep. So he's one of the highest people on threat because of that and just gets one shot. So maybe he could have had a shield and not had as many mobs facing behind him. But the key there is that Frosty didn't have a lip. So Frosty, the raid leader, there's just a million things to think about. And I just know that he's someone that normally is so conscious and attentive to his own consumables. And that's just the struggle with raid leading an Naxx, right? I want to say maybe this is like his 8th to 10th time raid leading Naxx, still newer at it. And those repetitions that you get really pay off over time, but it's just totally different, right? It's hard to describe if you haven't done it before, all the little details and things that you have to pay attention to being a Naxx raid leader to pull it off. And I like their assignment sheet. Their assignment sheet is much more detailed in general compared to ours, I'd say, that the main raid uses. And those slight differences between the assignment sheet, between the wing order, that kind of stuff, does make things a little bit more complicated and brain power required. But in the end, I think that it's all about simplifying, making things go as less detail as possible, and that's how you're going to clear Naxx. So right off the bat here, this isn't a big deal, but just note the undead trinket being used for the first bit of trash. In some ways, I would almost prefer this though, and I encourage Herb to do as little as possible when it comes to trinket swaps and trying to maintain the micro side of things as you're starting to learn main tanking. Again, I just want to give that context here. We're seeing someone that I think this is his first time main tanking Naxx, and overall I thought he did a really good job. Again, though, this is the weird thing, right? We always kill this pack second. But in this raid now, Frosty is saying, okay, we're going to do the Echoes of War packs first, because normally we would take our buffs out. We would have our buffs out in the main raid after that first double pull. In this raid, they're doing a couple extra trash packs that allows them to have hour buffs for that little bit longer. But again, it's just slightly different, right? And having that train track not be that exact same train track that you're used to in the other Naxx raid, it just creates that little bit of extra time that is needed to make sure everyone's doing things correctly. So not the end of the world, but just saying I am a real believer as much as possible in keeping things consistent, and it makes me start questioning if, maybe the main raid should start changing things for the alt raid. And I don't want to do that. I want to keep things as consistent as possible in the raids that I host. So other raids, they either have to try and copy that or adjust to their own versions. The biggest the biggest, I guess, alteration of this is just the wing order, how some wings are going to be done differently than what the main raid is used to. We go Spider into Death Knight, which is not common. Most people don't do that, so we're weird, but that's just how we've always done it, and I don't plan on changing that. Whereas this raid, they go Spider into Plague Wing. So yeah, we'll see some of those changes and how that resulted in a different raid experience. I thought this was perfect from Herb, though. Good opener. And he uses Mark of the Champion pretty often. I think that opening with Earth Strike is always the move. I would put that as the most important trinket when it comes to main tanking, is having a offensive steroid trinket that you can pop at the start of fights is really, really important. Whether it's Earth Strike, Kiss, Slayers, something that allows you to get really ahead. Combining the Death Wish with the Earth Strike means that you are just not going to experience threat issues. Note how he uses a Stone Shield on this. I think that's the move. Either you Mighty Rage on the opener if you're worried about a bad opener, or you use Stone Shield. But what that means is that he's not able to AoE shout after. And I know at least one or two other people that may have been expected to AoE shout used their potion cooldown there on Mighty Rage. So just really making sure that there's people available for this to lip shout. But again, I think that is the challenge and the difference between the main raid and the alt raid, where the main raid, we will never lip shout here. Maybe if it was a double pack at the exact same time, we'd have one ready in a second here. So what happens is there's a verbal call out with someone saying, okay, I will use my lip shout because Zozo can't. He used his potion cooldown. So it's just kind of like, we'll just listen to it. This is just a communication flub right here that results in the first world buff death.
I use my potion there, man. I always forget.
I could go in instead of him.
Okay, thank you.
So first thing, don't say I, say Alex. I am just that weirdo that knows everyone's voice, but some other people in this raid don't. So just say Alex will use the next AoE shout.
Am I this one?
I can use a shield. Just
Yeah. Wait for the shot to go.
So the Frosty kind of like confuses things where he just says yeah super quickly. And was it yeah to Alex being next, or yeah Zozo using his shield?
We go and
Drop
get
dummies.
this. They're right here.
Yep. Open it up. Okay, next shout Zozo or the Bantha. Bantha.
Oh, no.
You have to wait for the shot.
So someone says that all I did was demo shout here, but yeah, like you pressed your potion or you pressed a button before anyone else pressed a button. Like that's just what happens. So understand, if there has been nothing happening to this pack and you're the first person to press the spell and you're right on top of the whole pack, you're going to die 100% of the time. And just need to be a little bit closer if a tank is going to do that. But in general, just like don't go crazy into skitter packs is my number one recommendation. And again, we never AoE shot them because of situations like this. This is me proving why I do the things the way that we do. Where all that needed to happen here is a tank taunt one or two of them and don't worry about the demo shot until someone has touched them, right? So I appreciate the idea of demo shouting things at the start of pulls, but you have to understand the context of when you're doing it. So first world buff drip, and unfortunately I think Beld, I mean, he just straight up said like, I got kind of tilted. The problem is when you're the one person that dies, it's easier to become that one person that dies in the future, and it just continues to trickle, right? So in general, all this spider trash went pretty well. Sorry, the video quality isn't perfect here. We're watching a live stream, and I know that Herb said he would work on seeing if he can do anything, but again, being that main tank, your focus is on the raid, so I think it's great to be able to stream it. I encourage never to try and increase stream quality at a potential downgrade of raid quality, right? So if streaming or anything makes it so it's a worse experience for you in raid, don't worry about it. Just focus on the raid. I just say that mostly if you wonder why I don't stream, I have constant technology issues, and shout out to Herb for being able to look back at his point of view. I think it is really powerful to see how things went. What I'll say here is that Herb is definitely more on the offensive side. He's very rarely ever using Life-Giving Gem, and I would just suggest it more often if threat is not an issue. On a fight like Faralina, threat is really never going to be a factor because people are killing the skull and X target first. As long as you Deathwish on the opener of Faralina, you shouldn't have any threat issues. You see he instantly crits and like there's no one anywhere near besides a mage that is starting to get an ignite going. So threat was not a factor, even though it dropped here anyways. But what was a factor was the priest mind controls. So as a main tank here, I thought he did a really good job with this opener of not causing any movement. You want to stand still as much as possible until that first mind control goes out. So I'm not exactly sure here. It looks like if you see this triangle target, there's a person trying to mind control right here. Maybe I think they got silenced, and then that silence broke the mind control. So they're not able to do anything on the triangle, so this one isn't able to do anything. So they're just getting owned right here. This is a incredible amount of damage because they have the Rain of Fire combined with the poison volleys. These poisons volley happen if the mind control sacrifice hasn't happened. So that's why as soon as the fight starts, you need to have both priests try and do it. The priest on triangle was not able to. I'm not really able to see here on the other side. Looks like this priest goes for the mind control and they like stutter cast or they get silenced too. So maybe just in general, a little bit too close to the fight here. You can be a little bit farther away as a priest. You don't want to be too far away. If you get too far away and try and mind control and run the target, it will get out of range and just break. So there's that middle ground, but I think priests just being a little bit farther away, paladins being a little, and other priests, if you're not mind control, every healer that can dispel the silence needs to be more on the ball to quickly dispel that. Be ready to bop the priests. Priests need to be ready to lip. But yeah, fortunately, there was that one blast right there. So shout out to that one priest that got the sacrifice. This sacrifice saved this raid from being really, really dire. And it happened at the last second. Like, look how much health this Moon has. Moon is getting cleaved like crazy. Our melee are focusing way too much on cleaving the ads, which is bad. This was potentially almost a wipe, honestly. The amount of damage that the healers had to deal with here was just really, really high. So unfortunately, there was another warrior death here. Chimps gets down to like 200 health. I'm not sure if there were people that were... I guess we can look at that really quickly. Let's check Faralina. Dispels. Yeah, so shout out to all of these warriors here that are using EPRs and reducing how much damage they took. Scary, scary fight. So again, impressive to get through this. Good use of Stone Shield. I would just think about LGG here. Herb almost died. Think about the value of Judgment of Light on this boss. I think that there is debuff room here. It looks like that they are using one spot for Immolate and one spot for... No, yeah, one spot for Immolate. That's about it. I don't know if I see Curse of Wreck up here. Yeah, I do. Curse of Wreck was up. Okay. So anyways, very, very scary fight here. This was one of the scariest moments of the raid in terms of like losing full world buffs, especially early on. Spider sends so much momentum throughout the rest of the raid. So whatever you can do in this wing to not die really pays off later, right? So this area all went well. All this trash went well. Good handling of this patrol here. Really want to make sure there's two separate groups here. Kind of feels like almost everyone could have gotten hit there, but I think a hunter wasn't a good spot out to the side. So anyways, moving forward, moving forward, moving forward. Maxna, smart to go for the 2-phase. I'm not exactly sure with damage levels if it would have been the easy 1-phase, but they stop early. And again, I highly recommend that you have LGG for this fight. Like, threat is not a concern, right? We'll get to the end here. Herb was way far ahead. He does a good job putting on a shield during enrage phase, but I just think that this like either you do it on the opener. Sometimes you get absolutely rocked on the opener. We'll see how the opener goes here. Nothing bad at all. Got good heals, but sometimes in the opener you got to be ready to instantly LGG, or sometimes I use it like if I know there's going to be one web spray, I would recommend just using your LGG going into the web spray so it's extra safe. Like, sure, you know, this was perfect. I don't see an abolish poison though, so this could have been worse if a poison happened here. Need to make sure abolish poison goes out. I would recommend Abatha focus on that, being the feral druid. So right before Mexna does its spray, Abatha should drop out of feral form, do the abolish poison. Anyways, again, different happenings here. Man, Uber dies on the... Wow, so Uber dies from web rep, so that's tragic. I don't think that world buffs were lost from that, but still, I mean, I guess technically, you know, if they had world buffs out, they probably would have had the health pool to not die to that, right? So again, that's kind of why a raid uses world buffs, is so that mechanics don't result in deaths, which results in extra time loss, and it just creates a smoother, faster experience. So Martinelli here got DC'd, I believe. So at this point, these guys are 39 manning. Not a huge deal, excuse me, but just noticing the difference, slight loss in DPS, right? Maybe it's not much losing a rogue, but you go from that 100% down to 99%, and the 1% difference can matter sometimes. So I just mentioned that throughout the raiding experience, how sometimes you can feel like just a number, but, you know, it really does matter. Okay, so on the opener here, Herb Death Wishes, uses cooldowns, and just totally misses. This is what happens sometimes as a tank. Things just don't land. I do notice it looks like maybe he had Salve on. Yes, so Salve being on was a significant factor here. Toxic did not use cooldowns, so that worked out well that Toxic was able to pump threat here. And Toxic held it. He got it. Oh, I think he held. Who gets it here? Toxic gets it again. Nice. So yeah, ideally, at this point, you see how Herb is not using BT. He's saving his BT to instantly be able to pop it again when the threat drop happens. I think this is really good to see. So in general, good tanking on this boss besides just making sure Salve's off. So this is where things fall apart. Been a really good raid up to this point. 4 bosses, pretty easy. I mean, Fairlina was a little scary, but this is where things get scary. We'll just listen to comms too.
Parry, dodge. That was a good threat.
So grubs are like trickling in here. Toxic does a good job calling out the tanking situation as far as threat goes. This is just a tough fight. If you haven't tanked this before, it can definitely cause panic. I've been through this experience a couple times. My recommendation is I just kind of like watch the platforms and know the spots of where to move, like visually. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe the way, like I would flip my screen looking the other way. I would look at the platform and use the platform as like a point of reference, right? What's happening in my thought process here is that the way the camera is turned, it's just disorienting and causing more confusion, where this first one was barely slightly missed. So barely slightly off. And then next one becomes slightly off too, right? And it's just this problem of like seeing where to be. So maybe mark one person as a melee that's super confident of where to stand as a DPS perspective, but DPS just can't get baited by this, where sometimes things aren't going to go right and it's going to get rough, and you as a DPS just need to know where to stand. So everyone pops their Death Wish here. Again, this is just brought too far though. So he just doesn't move well, right? Like Toxic's trying to move him and he's just not moving as a normal mob would move. So like You see here. So you just have to over move. What Toxic should do right here, he moves good far to the right, and then you just got to move far to the left to move him again. And I know that there's a weak aura that will like tell you the pulsing timers. So if you know that you have 4 or 5 seconds left, then it's still okay to, move a little bit farther into the wrong spot if you move back over. So what happens here is I don't think that Salve was recast on mages or warlocks. Just take a look. So we're going to go to this, click on Heigen, click on buff, greater, salvation. Yeah. So, I mean, warriors had salve and stuff, but looks like at least the warlocks lost salve halfway through. Maybe polymorph just lost it because he died. So actually it was probably just a pump or ignite that they kept rolling the entire time, and polymorph dies to it. So this is disaster. If the casters pull on this fight, it is usually a wipe. So Dead Coils just doesn't realize the threat differential. And once they're over that threat differential, it's really rough, right? So now Dead Coils has a ton, because like the 30% difference is what you have to have for range to take over the melee. The problem now is, now that that 30% has happened, Dead Coils just has to die, right? Like get a bop, lip, but you got to get 25 threat as Herb or Alex here to overtake Dead Coils now. So not looking very good. So Dead Coils dies, then the second caster dies, now Herb has it. Herb tries to reposition and dies in 2 hits. So it doesn't have Stone Shield. I wouldn't expect you to have Stone Shield as the off tank here, but this is a case of me being tank number 2 of why I am such a big believer in Life Giving Gem, where it might be a downside in damage here, but right here, having the ability to instantly use defensives, I mean, could have Health Stone, could have, Health Pot doesn't really make sense, but Health Stone here might have saved you. But just that quick switch in threat of who is tanking, those are the times you have to be ready to use a defensive and just keep yourself topped off. Demo was on. I mean, Herb's in pretty tanky gear, full tier 2.5, but you just get 1-2 tapped pretty quick here, and fortunately it ended up being a kill. So very well could have been a wipe here. Within a couple seconds, they would have had to dance. So fortunately, I mean, only losing like 5 or 6, 7 people here could have been a lot worse, but they lost their main tank. So unfortunately, main tank dies here, and a lot of times this is just kind of like the real trickle when things fall apart. I thought that the raid did a really good job after this, staying on task and, not totally giving up. So definitely could have been a lot worse here. But again, just seeing the challenge of the threat problem that happened after the movement issues. So align yourselves with the platform, use the platform as a point of where you should be standing. Don't worry about being so far away from the platform. Casters can just move farther back on the platform. Here, casters were all like right on the edge of the platform to be able to have range to heal the melee. So casters have this full platform they can use. They can be farther back. So disaster, but fortunately still able to kill Lotheb here. So they make the adjustment where Toxic is going to be main tanking now. And that just creates friction, right? I talk about friction a lot, where when you have to take that time to swap assignments, confirm things with people, it just takes more time. More time means less time to raid and kill bosses. So Toxic gets pretty low there, but they keep him topped. Healers in general, I thought, did a pretty good job here. Never be afraid of being vocal as a healer on Lotheb. That's one thing that I want to recommend. In general, we have a raid group that doesn't talk very much. They kind of let the people that need to talk, which I think is great. We don't have like 10 raid leaders all saying their opinions normally in my runs, and same thing that's happening in this alt run. But with that being said, healers, you always can say on this fight, okay, healing, you know, Curly healing now, Kalu healing now, Bochuk healing now. Always feel free to have that ability to talk there. So I think Judgment of Light was being used most of the time. That's good. This is the first real boss that you want to use Judgment of Light on. We talked about how on Fairlina, I think there would have been a lot of value too, though. So they get through it. Big morale boost to be able to kill a boss after a rough boss like that. But now the real question comes up with Patrick. How is this going to go? So let's just get into the Patrick trash here. So again, the difference of A-Bomb Wing, we would do third in the main raid. Same with this run. So kind of no difference, right? But just mentioning, like normally Plague Wing is pretty safe. So the idea is, okay, we're going to get through Spider and Plague really fast, and then we have the tougher stuff after. Whereas in the raids that I host, what we do is we do Death Nightwing second, and that's where sometimes we'll boon our buffs, play things a little bit safer there, and then take them out again at 4 Horsemen. So Resuvia is still 4 Horsemen, we have her buffs booned. They're going to do that as well, but they just do it at the end. So ends up being kind of same strategies, but this was disaster. Let's just talk about this.
It's a Belcher too. It's not a Rancher.
Yeah, awesome.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna have to
Pull
watch.
the Belcher back. Yeah, watch if it. Watch
So
if it drops
Belcher put down a slime right there. It happened really early.
Drag it back. Drag it back. Drag it back. Drag it back. Don't get killed by the by these slimes.
I don't think it made a little slime.
I don't think it got one. No. Throw it dynamite. Two.
I'll sludge it right in the corner of the doorway.
Run out. To the reset spot. Run. Oh, that sucks. Run. Get out.
So unfortunately, looks like that potion cooldown was available though, right? So the number one thing that the raid leader should call out if that happens is fap and run. Using a reaction potion to not get stunned by the 4-pack is really important here. And I just think that this is a group that is trying to do too much. Right here, just kill the 4-pack. Why are you trying to skip the 4-pack here? This is an ult raid, right? Like you have no potion cooldown. You don't need it for the 4-pack. You just stack 2 and 2. So lots of like downtime right here where they're just like thinking about what to do. Kill stuff. Lawnmower mode. In A-Bomb Wing and Death Knight Wing, the goal should be just to kill things so that they don't kill you. And unfortunately, that's what happens here. This Belcher puts a slime on the ground. Very early, it happened like right there. And when that slime gets close to this 4-pack, it calls for help and aggroes them. And worst case scenario, while that's happening, the Retcher inside the room, the other patrol gets pulled as well. So having a Retcher run at you that can do a knockup while 4 stunning mobs are coming at you really is worst case scenario. So you see it happen right here. Right when all these 4 mobs are about to reach everyone, the Retcher does a knockup. Right. Boom. Everyone's knocked up. So now everyone's knocked up, and then the stun happens right after. So really, really punishing round of mechanics here happening back to back. I'm shocked Nomer didn't die right there. Very impressed that he lived. Only lost 1 more. Looks like Strongblade. I'm not sure if he petried, gets down to 500 health. But, you know, could have been a lot worse. Lost a couple people there. But that could have been disaster for sure. That is now the second time where in a lot of raid groups, it could be a full wipe scenario. First Hygen, now this. I mean, kind of Fairlina too. Fairlina was a little close. Anyways, though, last thing to mention here is this evade spot. This is pointless. All those mini slimes and that 4-pack, once they reach this line in the ground right here, they will stop. They'll turn around and go back. It's just those slimes that you're going to see spawn in, the big slimes, the middle slimes. These slimes you can evade. You can go in that corner spot and you won't get the slimes. But all you have to do in the future here is just leave the room. Having everyone stack like this is just kind of awkward and weird. So just stay out of the room, stay right here where like that hunter is, and you're totally fine. So some shenanigans, but they move forward. And again, my big lesson learned there is, why is an alt raid trying to do tech and skip packs? Just kill that side pack first. So overall, all these AoE shouts went pretty well. Couple scary fears. Poor Rusty dies here. Totem goes out maybe. I mean, his health just kind of ticks down here. I think Curly was just really low as well. But poor Rusty just kind of gets ticked down right here by multiple of the Mind Flays. Don't normally see 3 Mind Flays on one person like that, so unfortunate. Okay, so we're now at Patchwork, and again, main tank previously died, so Patchwork definitely becomes a much more sketch fight. But still using Herb as the main tank, I think that definitely makes the most sense. If you have 2 people with buffs and a third tank, make the third tank that main tank. They're going to have lower health pool, lower threat, but as long as the 2 hatefuls then don't overtake, super simple. So that's what's happening here. Toxic is being topped off each time. Helios is that second tank. They're both plenty chonky, and they get through this fight. So really not much more to say with Patrick. Good job, easy peasy. Okay, never mind. Yeah, they have Devo and the Imp buff. For those are the 2 big things that you want to see on Alliance side. On Horde side, I'm not sure if that same thing applies as far as the unbuffed tank being the main tank, because I know threat is just so much more of an issue on Horde side, but on Alliance side, super simple. A tank that dies can still main tank Patrick for sure. So they handle all this trash well. They stun it. Great. Herb drags it around the slime here. So the key with this, I need to share the weak aura. There's a weak aura that will tell you the timer of when the little slimes will spawn. It's a window that's like time opens, and then it's like 10 seconds before the little slime goes out. So right here, this was really risky. Notice the timing here where there's new stuff being put on the ground, right? The poison cloud happens. So when a poison cloud happens, the tank now has to back up. I think Herb does good steady movements here. You never want to be super jerky. Just slow backpedal here. And boom, suddenly the slime happens half a second later. So in this moment here, if Herb went like this and all the melee quickly moved up, this would be a wipe. This would register as like 10 melee being in the front and a wipe. Like right here, super, super dangerous time period where now it casts and fine. So just be aware of that time. I mean, it's something the entire raid needs to be aware of, right? Like you just need to know when you cannot have a ton of people standing in front of the boss. So poison cloud happens, straight back. And this time isn't dangerous now, right? Like if you had the weaker, you could see that the slimes can't spawn for like another 10 seconds. So this is an easy movement time where you're not nearly as worried about people's positioning. But didn't realize that there was a cloud underneath them here. And just everyone gets kind of owned. And this is a case where like the raid just needs to understand your own movement. Fortunately, everyone moved out of the slime at the last second there before they died. But yeah, have your own control here. Be aware sometimes the tank can't move the way that you want. This applies for Hygen and Grob, right? It's the same idea where you as a DPS just need to understand the fight yourself. Move out of poison clouds. Don't go too far forward. So again, yeah, right here's the perfect example. The slime is out, so you know for a fact movement is not that big of a deal. It's not going to spray the front of the raid, so in a situation like right there, just move really big away from the poison cloud so people have room. You really don't want to do big movements when the slime is available to cast. When the slime is unavailable to cast, it's your time as the tank to just make sure people are more comfortable with where everyone's standing. Pretty good overall, though, and again, just like caster movement here, right? You don't want casters to move much. So I thought that that was done pretty well, where it was kept pretty close to the casters. They didn't have to shuffle a whole ton. They could stay casting most of the time. All right, on to Gluth. Toxic is tanking Gluth. Not sure who's doing the stuff in the back, but easy peasy. So Herb saves his Death Wish here. I think if you Death Wish at the start of Gluth, you'll always be able to have it up for Thaddeus. So just know, like, Thaddeus takes a minute, right? You have to get to the second part of the fight. So I guess we could try and do a timer here. So 2:30. So is it? Yeah, I mean, if you Death Wish at the start of Gluth, probably would have been fine. I mean, if things go faster, then maybe you don't have quite enough time, but 3 minutes at the start of Gluth for sure would have been fine. Of course, this is a slighter, slower moving raid and a little bit more downtime, so it's kind of hard to know cooldown timings, and I definitely would prefer that the main tank know that they have their Death Wish available at the start of Thaddeus, but it looks to me like he instead uses it at the start of the bosses. And if you know that you're not going to be tanking Thaddeus, I think this is totally fine. Good to see him use a stone shield, though. This boss just hits so hard. Stalag is no joke. Glad to see the Judgment of Light there. Gamer play. But yeah, just need to be super, super careful on this boss. If you're Death Wished, it's really, really easy to die. So I would think about even wearing like tier 3 4-set. 4-set on Lotheb, 4-set on Thaddeus is really valuable because you're less likely to miss a taunt. Thaddeus is made a lot more trivial by the fact that tanks can taunt and just juggle it and hold it with taunts. So you don't want those taunts to miss. Having less resist chance is really powerful. So great, they kill it. Unfortunately, though, one of the few left tanks that have buffs dies right here. So Helios just gets absolutely walloped. And yeah, if you are second on threat on this fight, you got to be ready for that to happen. Just gets absolutely owned. Has demo on. Not sure if he had Stone Shield on. Almost lost Herb right there, too. I mean, that would have been real disaster if Stalag killed 2 tanks right there. That's why you have 2 tanks on both sides. But yeah, just have to be ready for that. If you are second threat, be ready to be insta-killed like that. I mean, that is almost 0 chance of survival and shows why you need to have tankier gear if you are going to be on either side of Thaddeus mini bosses, because you're going to get knocked in back and forth between sides. So anyways, Toxic uses his stuff at the start here, and I don't recommend this. This is using Death Wish too early. You want to wait for the debuff to happen. Once you get the stacks, that's when in about 5 seconds you Death Wish. So Toxic wasted about half of his Death Wish here. Not a huge deal if mages aren't going crazy with ignites and stuff, but right now, I'm sorry, 5 more seconds. Right now is when you want to use your offensive cooldowns as a tank. So as soon as you see that stacking debuff, then you use your Death Wish, then you use your Kiss, whatever, Earth Strike, that kind of stuff. So threat really wasn't too big of an issue. I Gnomes dropped the ignite. It ends up climbing a bit, but totally in control, so not much of a factor anyways. Most fights you start with a offensive cooldown at the start here, but with Thaddeus, I just don't think it makes sense since there should be no threat problems at the start. There's no real gain, right? You're doing very, very minimal damage until you get that debuff. So just wait until that debuff happens, then start going ham if you're the tank. And this is why often, I mean, I'm like 99% sure I've killed Toxic before, where he has been on Thaddeus. I've been tanking it, and he hits it at the start and dies because he gets a better opener than I do. So that's why I'm always so, like, I make it very verbally clear. No threat, no threat, no threat. At the start of Thaddeus, you can taunt it, so either one of the tanks, like, you know, if they get a bad opener, they can just taunt off each other. But you just don't want to use your offensives until you get that scaling. So anyways, really good A-bomb wing overall. Very impressed to see a situation like that. Besides, at the end here, I'm not sure how Booty, on the positive side, we don't get to see that, where they die. I don't really know what happened here. It's kind of hard to tell. Don't really see other people taking damage, so I'm not sure if like where Booty was. Looks like maybe, yeah, I just don't really get it. Like, it almost looks like he has the debuff longer than anyone else, and then someone went through the portal and killed him. I don't know. That to me was really strange. But shout out to Booty. They were just a random from looking for group that filled in this run. So the fact that they were able to come to raid, that's great. That's all that matters, right? So I believe that boons were called here. And it's, yeah, based on the health pools, like, let's see. Let's just check on that. We can check ourselves really quick. Yeah, Gapping had like 8k health and then goes down to 7k health here, so they clearly all boon, and it gets rough. I recommend you don't wait for this patrol like this. I guess they were just trying to
One of these.
collect themselves and do a bit of loot. But in this circumstance right here, just pull one of the Death Knights really far back and then try and pull the other Death Knight before the patrol comes. That's going to give you a lot more room to work with. And that's really what goes wrong here is they're worried about how little space they have without aggroing other stuff. And it just results in them not being able to have proper movement here.
I'm if
Up slowly. We'll grab these three.
Right.
Helios has the shout.
it doesn't
You
work.
decide Pat's. Okay.
You want both sides?
Just one. We're doomed.
So Abatha was like trying to not go too far because Square just doesn't come towards the raid, right? You see Abatha waiting for a sec, but that second of waiting resulted in the raid all getting hit by a shadow volley. As quick as possible, all you care about is flipping Square around on this pack. So typically a bear will be really good for that they can just charge in and turn around, but there's no room to do that here because there's all these other packs. So I know maybe the raid isn't fully ready for this, but even if a raid is not fully ready, they should be able to kill one single target, right? You bring it far back so it doesn't fear into every other pack. Just kill one or two of these before the patrol comes, or wait for the patrol to leave again and kill all this stuff is my recommendation. So this volley just absolutely owns the raid. They kill Skull pretty quick here. Seems like most people are doing damage, but that X then instantly teleports, hits all the casters. So things just get out of control really fast because they've now also pulled 2 side packs. Now they get feared because they didn't kill the side packs fast enough. So this was probably like the worst case of trash. And again, I think it really just comes down to trying to be fancy, trying to be cute, trying to do too much. Methodical, clearing one pack at a time, understanding the packs that are dangerous and how to deal with those packs with as little danger needs to be the focus of the alt raid. So again, just mark, kill one of these sides, kill one of the sides on left and right, maybe both. Treat this patrol as dangerous as it is because it can one pull like this can wipe. We can all die in this little area right here. So I wanted to spend more time looking at like consumable usage, all that kind of stuff, but we're just going to focus on the rest of the bosses for like 15-20 minutes here, and maybe in the future I'll do another deep dive. I just want to get this out, and those that are interested in hearing it before the raid today, then maybe they'll learn a little before then. So again, this is the case of the difference between the alt raid versus the main raid. Let's just listen here.
Okay, let's grab shoot these back to us.
Which ones?
The Death Knight, the 4-pad.
Okay.
Just shoot this back. Let it come back to us, guys.
Frosty, how many times have you heard me talk about this? Like, gonna give myself brain damage. Not that I already don't have it. Anyways, we always kill this side pack first. You see, like 20 of our raiders, they know the usual order. I've done this hundreds of times. You always kill this side pack first. But someone marked the other pack. Sorry, excuse me. Doubling down on the badness now. Why do you pull this pack back? I guess that's like the speedrun format. This ain't no speedrun. This is an alt Naxx.
Just shoot this back. Let it come back to us, guys.
You don't want to be in combat with these mobs for an extra long period of time. So I don't know if it was clearly explained at the start, the kill order, where in the main raid, we always kill the captains first. And we have buffs out for this. So we're not dealing with any mechanics. If you don't have your buffs out, you need to expect to deal with mechanics. So typically the easier mechanic to deal with is the spins. You just move farther away, right? So in a raid that doesn't have their buffs out, I would recommend marking like they did, right? They marked the Death Knights first. So I just don't know how clear the entire raid was on that the goal was to kill the Death Knights first. Looks like Skull died really fast, but I see this captain ends up being focused just as much as the Death Knight, right? You always want to disarm the captain Death Knights and keep them out to the side, but the fear is what will cause you to wipe, right? Fear will cause you to run into other packs. I mean, I guess you could wipe two captain spins as well, but this is why we kill this side pack first. If you get feared in, suddenly things get really scary. So really big shout out to the raid here for the way that they recovered from this. And again, I think it's like a mindset thing, right? Where you need to have the mindset of we can do this, we can get through this. And shout out to the 2 tanks that instantly flipped the shades. That's what prevented this from being so deadly, is Abatha instantly. Herb was on it as well. Herb was going to go for that shade. And what was good to see is how once one person knew that they had the job done, other people didn't try and take over and do that job also, right? So really good job keeping the shades flipped away, other mobs being controlled, only losing 3 people there. Very, very impressive. But again, I think this is just the problem, right? Why is the captain marked? Actually, that makes sense. Yeah. So you kill the skull. They're committing to always killing the Death Knights first, not on captain. Look how early that captain spun. I think it might have gotten a disarm, but it might have been too late. It spins before the disarm happens, so that makes the disarm not very effective. No demo shot happened before the spin happened. Like, as soon as you get in combat with these captains, you need to disarm them if you're not going to kill them first. And yeah, just kind of the same thing, right? Where the raid is having stuff being pulled back to them. They have longer periods of being in combat. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi. So 6 seconds before the captain is anything done to it. And that's just what's going to happen every time, is you're going to deal with mechanics and deal with them like right as they are reaching you. And it's just something that this raid group is not used to experiencing. So minimizing downtime once you're in combat, as soon as you're in combat with something, you need to hit it, and understanding the dangerous mechanics. So always instantly killing the captain, always disarming the captain, always instantly killing the other Death Knights. This was a much better example of what to do. They have Skull and X stacked up, they cleave those down in time, and then they have the captain a little bit off to the side. Much, much better overall here. And then they all run away from the spin. They survive. Well, actually, they kill it. So casters do a good job focusing here and doing a lot of like instant big spells. Goes from 25k to nothing. where everyone committed and was able to kill it. So props for that. Near disaster there, though. Oh, this trash went pretty well. Not too much to say besides, this pack is dangerous. Does a lot of damage. I see weakness going up on these Cavaliers. I'm not sure if that's really necessary, but I know that weakness is being discussed here because of the steeds, so I think lots of times people get confused about the big horses versus the little horses. Or was that two at once? No, they pulled the steeds early. So let's just see how they pull the steeds. I want to mention that. I don't recommend Hunter pulling them like this. They're getting hit by extra mechanics each time. Do it how we do it in our main raid of being right at the corner, instantly killing. Telling you, it's much better. I just don't get this. Why is a Hunter doing this? You're 100% dealing with mechanics every single time. Notice how charges are always going to be happening. It's a lot more damage that's going out compared to what you see in the other style. These two here you kind of have to pull from range. So this one here, like, yeah, Hunter's going to have to bring it to you. You want to meet it right now. Demo just not done very quick. Demo's just not being done on those until like the last second a lot of the time. So weakness is being done on these, that's good. But when there's only one left like this, be aggressive, go into it. Good taunts there. Rip Zozo. So Resuvius, we can just listen maybe. I didn't remember what happened on Resuvius.
Next one has gone. My bad. Can you pick it up or try? He's taunted. Dummy. Taunt. Stop the taunt. Stop.
So I don't know who the savior was right here. This was a complete hero play. I mean, it's still 15 seconds till disrupting shot, but ripping it back and keeping it around this corner here is just so critical. Then the dummies are able to keep it in place. And ultimately, I believe that they do now have another mind control set up. So this was just one of the best recoveries of the raid. The fact that they are able to I think they won. Yeah, they one-shot Raz. That's huge. So shout out to the priest for getting that done. Not much priests left alive by the end because of a bad disrupting shout here. But look, all you guys that have full mana, remember how this fight works. You need to drop your mana. If priests had like half mana here, they wouldn't have died. So there's very little benefit to having full mana on this fight. Just keep that in mind. Maybe for the first 15-20 seconds you really dump and then you use one or two buffs, I don't know. But be ready to fortitude or something to get your mana low. You'll survive that instead of dying. But focus being got the one phase, right? That's what really matters. Heavy damage going out here. They just died to the axes. Yeah, rip Beldenath. So again, once you die, you just kind of die over and over. Unfortunate. I will say I know that he's gotten a lot more health since this raid, so that's good. But these axes will rip you apart, that is for sure. Only 2 deaths though, not the end of the world. I don't really understand how Andra dies here. Like, demo was done a little late, but that confused me to see that death happen. Anyways. They get through the hallway pretty good. This last pack is tough. I think they should have topped off a little bit more. You want people to be full health. Remember, this isn't a speed run, right? Like, take that 10 seconds here top people off. People just move too far forward.
Disarm the captains, quickly kill the necrophants.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit too fast. These mobs, they'll do an execute. The captains will if you're low health. So you don't want to be low health, so you want people to be high health going into the fight. Repair bot down. Gothic is happening. Gothic is definitely a scary fight if you don't have buffs out. In general, thought that the tanks all did good gameplay from everyone not going too far to the far piles. Our strategy is that front pile right there, that middle pile is as far as you go. And yeah, let's just see here. So just need a quicker taunt. Herb gets it, but it was a second late, so rip Beld. And that one I definitely don't blame Beld on that kill. So again, I don't want to feel like I'm pushing too hard on any individuals, because that definitely was just a taunt thing. Anyways, constant face palms here. Let's just listen.
Go. Okay, we'll go right. Let's go right. Avoid those
Got a
ones.
pack coming too, it's okay.
Kill these. Let's kill these. Let's tear the pat.
Might want to distract if we
Come to
can.
the lamp.
Yeah. Go distract the pat. We've got
Come
double
circle.
pat. Got both pats. Yeah, come back. We've got both.
Come all the way down. Don't be on the lip.
Oh,
Yeah,
we need
come
to
down,
cross.
come down, touch the wall. Yeah, let's cross over. We got the ghouls, kill the ghouls. Just cross over, pull the ghouls.
So the peanut gallery, never jump across is my #1 recommendation. This will always turn out bad. The timing was just like seconds, right? Like there's just some people a little too far up on this ledge right here. They're going to social pull the gargoyles that are walking in. And then those gargoyles that are walking in, they are going to aggro the other stuff in a second here. So yeah, the call to jump across never works. Never, ever, ever do this. And I've seen a lot of groups fall into this. Let's look back. What should have happened here? As soon as you see this patrol, say, okay, we're lawnmower moding. We have to lawnmower mode. Okay, we're going to instantly kill these ghouls and then go try and catch the other ghouls, or you just tactical retreat. You kill these ghouls, run back out. Maybe you have to deal with the gargoyles behind you now, but you should have plenty of time. Don't try and get fancy in this area. We've seen countless wipes. Whitemane used to be made fun of for this area here in GDKPs. We had like 8 to 10 groups all wipe in a week. It was called the Corridor of Death. So just have to go lawnmower mode, clear everything out. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen, and it is a wipe. And it's just a terrible spot to wipe. How are you supposed to get people back? It's just really awkward being over here. They have to deal with the patrols coming back down potentially. They did fine, so they got through it. But I'd say that was probably like one of the biggest hurdles that just slows down the raid, right? So lawnmower mode, be aware of the patrols in front of you. So this was pretty big for morale. Was it a kill? Yeah, okay, so they had one attempt and they pulled it out. So popped out all the buffs again, using everything that you got. And this is what progression is all about, right? Where some people have died earlier on, got kind of rough, but can you clamp down and kill the tougher bosses in non-optimal conditions? That's the question. So Herb gets really chunked here. He does a good job with survival, but again, I don't think that the like look at what Herb's role is, right? Like he didn't use the trinket on the opener. So like when are you going to use it? there's only 1 or 2 other times that Herb is being expected to tank. Unfortunately, he dies here. You want to have Life Giving. I would just highly, highly recommend Life Giving. I would recommend pre-popping a whatever it's called, Frozen Rune. Pre-pop a Frozen Rune here. I don't think that was done. Nope. So pre-pop a Frozen Rune. Be ready to pop another Frozen Rune or use a Health Stone, one of the two. Does use a Stone Shield, so because you're using that potion cooldown, it means that your Health Stone or your Frozen Rune is even more valuable. So fortunately, it was good timing here. Shout out to Toxic for picking it up right before things turned disastrous, and he uses his Life Giving then to give the raid just a little bit more support and survivability. So I thought that was really good. But he has to go more defensive here, and unfortunately, the wreck wins. Frosty dies, just pumps too hard, and then Dead Coils rips threat. Shout out to the taunters here. There's a bunch of DPS that are now taunting to bring it back and make sure the Dead Coils doesn't rip. So you see Stevie Ray insta with the taunt, and I know that Chims did it as well there. So really good play by all the warriors just trying to keep things together. So then Toxic has it, but they can't commit. Look, they have a bunch of people now that are running out. And that's the problem, right? If you can't commit and kill this last 30% in the shield wall because a whole ton of people left, what are you going to do now? And this is where things get really out of control. So looks like it's on Steve. So this is unfortunate too. Toxic is now going to shield wall right here, but then Stevie Ray gets threat. So this was a completely wasted shield wall. So Toxic needed to like mock or something right after the shield wall because he's just doing no threat with his shield out compared to the pumping that these guys are trying to do of trying to kill this boss. So unfortunate end here for Stevie Ray. He dies. Toxic didn't move though, which is good. So could have gotten more chaotic here. Toxic is still alive somehow. Healers are doing a really good job keeping the tank alive here. I'll give them a lot of credit for that. He's got 5-6 stacks at this point, still alive. And now I think it was Gilly that came. Yeah, Vanther came in. So a big shout out to Vanther for what happens here. Toxic gets 7 stacks and still lives on Mograine. Vanther had 5 stacks on Ziliac. After being on Ziliac, Vanther came over and really saved the fight. Because again, there was no assigned third tank here. If you don't think that you can one-phase Mograine, you need to have someone be ready to tank it. There was no one ready for that rotation. So yeah, Vanther is just tanking forever here. He survives a really, really long time until he eventually dies. And that really was a key factor of this fight being pulled off. So shout out to Vanther. Still tanking, still alive somehow. Has 6 stacks of Mograine. And he's just going, I am going to die. Eventually I will die. Now Chims is tanking. They throw down some good dummies here. Barador looks like maybe taunted at the end to try and save Chims. So justice for Chims dying for that. But, you know, I think that some people are always way too obsessed with their DMF buff. Of, you know, oh, I need to save my buff for next week or something like that, right? Like, no, this is all that matters is killing this boss. So huge morale boost that this turned out to be a kill. Again, you saw a lot of different warriors stepping up here and making that possible. We'll just talk really briefly here now about the Saffron and KT, and then I'll look for logs in a couple minutes. So this was day 2. They only had a 2-hour time limit, and they got it done just in time. They finished on the dot. So props for the near clear. I think that if a couple things had gone differently, it's definitely possible to have this been a one-night clear. You know, who knows? Things could have been different, but most of the same people showed up for the cleanup, which I think is awesome. Again, that's a positive sign for the future if people are willing to stick it out. Herb has a good opener here. Death Wish, Earth Strike, total good opener. Does a sapper on the opener. I think that's smart. Really good start here. But unfortunately, Herb is just going to get absolutely clobbered. And my point is, you see a lot of heals going out but there's going to be very minimal heals needed on the raid while Herb is Death Wished. This is the most risky 30 seconds for the tank. I mean, the end is risky when healers are low on mana and everyone's struggling, but just need to spam Herb really hard here. I think what happened is a bad blizzard happens. A bunch of the healers that were healing Herb got stuck in this blizzard and they're all moving at the same time as a big chunk of damage happens. So just back-to-back crushings, heavy amounts of damage going out, and Solid really saves the raid here, being second on threat. Normally, when the main tank dies on Saffron, it's going to cleave and kill a bunch of other people. But Toxic came out on top, and Rogue instantly used a Vanish when they realized the threat situation. So really good reaction time from Rogue there, as well as Toxic just quickly flipping and picking up the boss here, and was clutch. The second person on threat had mitigation gear and totally saved this fight. So obviously when the main tank dies, it's not going to be as optimal. Things get a little bit rough at the end. We can talk about maybe some of that healer experience later, but the main point needs to be that this raid killed Saffron their first attempt. I think that's really, really hype and speaks well to the potential future of this raid. He pops Life Giving right as the boss lands, which is good. I would wait a second longer here, though. So it's kind of the same idea as Thaddeus of just having that second of patience, where Toxic, I guess he's not full health, so LGG was good here. But I would recommend like wait until now. Now pop that Life Giving. I see this happen with Shield Wall too a lot of times, where people they say, okay, I'm gonna pop my Shield Wall, and then it takes 5 seconds for the boss to land, and you lose half of your Shield Wall uptime. So lost maybe like 25% of the LGG extra health pool right there. Not much, but just something to mention. Again, definitely not trying to be too critical because Toxic totally saved this raid. So shout out to Toxic. And again, pretty cool that healers were able to keep him alive. It all turned out okay. Hooray. Epic kill. And I think I guess I don't want to ever, I never will give someone too much credit on Saffron being top DPS, because anytime I do that, people just start bringing less and less frost resist. But spoiler alert, it's pretty cool here that Andrew was top DPS on Saffron. I think top DPS on KT. Actually, no Murd pumped on KT. Sheesh. Barry pumped on KT too. Nice. Shout out to Dilf. But anyways, the guy that was pumping, one of the people that was pumping in this raid got a Grustle at the end of it, which is for me what it's all about. Rewarding the players that are putting in that effort, and it's just cool to see that happen. And yeah, overall, really comfortable KT kill. They got a early blast on people that may have still had a Frostpot popped. You see, like, they didn't get below half health. A little bit below half health, but healers kept him up, and just really easy kill there. Was that... So second Frost Blast hit the same group. That one was rougher. And this is a time period of, like, when do you use your potion cooldown? I would recommend, you know, it's hard to say an ideal situation, but once you see Frost Blast is available like this, you wait to the next volley. So is there going to be a volley before the next Frost Blast? That's the question. No. So really, really tough to deal with this in the moment. Yeah, just kind of tough. So lost a little bit of DPS there, but still going. And that really is the end of the kill. Controlled the ads well, didn't really have to deal with scary mind controls at all. Did Herb? There's one mind control, so let's see how the mind control goes. So mind control happens. A little bit scary with a mage pulling. Then Abatha had it for a second, and then Herb gets it. So Herb rips it back to its correct spot. And now, great. So yeah, overall pretty good KT. I just wanted to show the movement here of Four Horsemen. So we'll go to replay, play. So this is where things fall apart, when all these DPS start leaving early. So like 8, 9 DPS all leave. They only had 3 stacks, right? Like, why are you leaving with only 3 stacks? I don't think the call was made. If it was, why are these other people staying, right? There's just a very clear misunderstanding going on in Four Horsemen that caused Mograine not to be one-phased. And then again, really clutch by Vanther. He realized what was happening. Vanther's job was to be next on Blamo, but he doesn't do that. He goes and takes care of Mograine and saves the raid. But now, so that means Helios over here, he ends up getting 5 stacks. Who comes in for Helios? Toxic does. Okay. So they do this kind of juggle back and forth between Toxic and Abatha, tanking in the back. And it all works out, right? So I just wanted to kind of show that, to show how a Four Horsemen that is falling apart can be fixed. And we've seen a lot of Four Horsemen over the past year where, everyone just kind of freaks out and there's not clear understanding of what's happening. And it really can be that 1 or 2 warriors that saves the fight. So in this case, like we talked about, 4 or 5 good dummies, good shield walls, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just sharing some thoughts. Looking forward to seeing how round 2 goes today. Good luck, guys. And I said I would do more RPB CLA stuff. So I guess if we just look at the casts really quickly, there's some very strong warriors in here. People like Andra, Barry, Chims, Gapping, Rusty, Madden Solid, Stevie Ray. Like, if I just go down Zozo, there's a very good group of warriors here. And if you are trying to improve yourself, that would be other people that I would look to check out their cast kind of stuff and see what they're doing. Notice how everyone is pressing Sunder Armor, maybe some more than others, but everyone's doing it pretty good. Efficient Sunders is what I'm trying to say. It's always interesting to see the different amounts of cleaves versus whirlwinds that happened, but Deathwish to me is always telling. Notice how people like Andrew Chims are able to get high numbers of Deathwishes. They know when to use stuff. Stevie with 20 as well, right? Like, when are you using your cooldowns for the maximum benefit is a really big question for warriors as they're trying to do more DPS. So anyways, just some thoughts, GG's, and till the next one.